British intelligence reports arrival of Kawukji in Palestine. Secret. HQ Palestine. Telforce 651, extension 169. GSIM 1. March 12, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter number 63. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours February 25, 23:59 hours March 10, 48. Part 1. Current Affairs. Part 2. Sir Lewis Spears' article, Palestine and the United Nations. 13. The arrival in Samaria of Fawzi Kawukji is definitely confirmed, but he is believed to be paying a short visit only this time. He has indicated his desire not to embarrass the authorities in any way, but when in Transjordan recently, it was reported that he talked about renewed activity against Jewish settlements, possibly with the intention of influencing the UN Security Council. It has not yet been confirmed which route he used to enter Palestine, although strong rumor has it that he came across Allenby Bridge at night. Nazis among Mufti's representatives in Palestine. General. 11. An observer of the Arab scene in Palestine has given an appreciation of the non-Arab volunteers who have been working with Arabs in Palestine, owing to allegiance to the Mufti. Firstly, there are the Yugoslav Muslims, estimated at less than a dozen in number, who are attached to Abdul Qadir al-Husseini in the Jerusalem area. They have had experience in warfare and have expert knowledge of underground activities. Their number is almost certain to be increased later. Then there are 3 or 4 German officers attached to Sheikh Hassan Salameh in areas around Jaffa and Lydda. One popular rumor has it that they are survivors of the Germans, who parachuted down during the last war in the Jericho region to contact Sama, with whom they have kept in touch ever since. These Germans refused to meet any British volunteers. Thirdly, there are constant rumors of some British nationals, but little or nothing is known about them. Mufti refused Arab requests to leave Haifa Open City. Secret. HQ Palestine. Telforce 651, extension 169 GSIM 1. February 13, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter number 61. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours January 28, 23:59 hours February 11, 48. Part 1. Current Affairs. Part 2. House of Lords Debate. January 20th. Towards the end of January, a delegation representing all classes of Arabs from Haifa, headed by Archbishop Hakim, visited the Mufti in Cairo, with the intention, it is rumored, of obtaining support for a plan to declare Haifa an open city. It was unsuccessful. However, it is learned that all sections of the Arab community have been placed under the command of the Haifa Arab National Community, who feel that it is in their own interest to maintain peace in the city for as long as possible. This, and the fact that the moneyed Jewish community in Haifa wishes for peace, provide some grounds for the hope that order may be maintained there for some time. Both communities are well armed, and tension, of course, exists. The situation depends entirely upon the control the leaders of both factions are able to maintain over their more irresponsible followers. Lieutenant Colonel Adel Nijin al-Din of Iraq, active in the Iraq rebellion against the British, a guest at the British Government Hospital in Jaffa in March 1948. 7th from left, Miss M. Woodcock, matron of the hospital. British identity card of member of Arab Legion. British commander of the 6th Airborne Division with Arab gang at Acre. Mufti confers with Syrian president. Secret. HQ Palestine. Telforce 651, extension 169. GSIM 1. February 13, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter number 61. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours January 28, 23:59 hours February 11, 48. Part 1. Current Affairs. Part 2. House of Lords Debate. January 20th. Arab Affairs. Political. Haj Amin el-Husseini visited Damascus at the beginning of February and had talks with President Quwatli. On 4 to 6 February he attended meetings of the Arab League Military Committee there, presided over by Taha el-Husseini with Subhi el-Hadra present. Further to the military organization of Palestine, it was decided to divide the country into 4 major fighting zones. The Mufti proposed that each zone should have 2 commanders of equal status, one nominated by the Arab Higher Executive and the other by the Arab League Military Committee. Taha el-Husseini, however, insisted on a single commander for each zone, and finally it was agreed that under General Ismail Safwat as commander-in-chief, Abdul Qadir el-Husseini should command the Jerusalem zone, Hassan Salameh the Jaffa-Jerusalem Road area, Fawzi Khokji the Nablus-Tulkarm area, and that the southern sector should be operated under Egypt. A delegate of the Arab Higher Executive is to be attached to each commander. The Mufti returned to Cairo in time for the 10-day Arab League Council meeting there on February 7th. So far little has come to light from the meeting, but it appears that both the military and political committees have reached the conclusion that no major Arab invasions or operations are possible in Palestine until after the final evacuation of the British forces. The question of the formation of an Arab government for Palestine, which was brought forward by Hamdi el-Pachachi of Iraq and Jamal Mardan Bey of Syria has, for the present, been shelved. The League is concentrating on a military program and the plan for the anti-Jewish activity, which is to be put into force during the remaining months of the British rule. General Ismail Safwat produced a report of military operation in Palestine since November 29th, in which the suggestion of opening a second front from the Sinai Desert, with the object of compelling Haganah to split its forces, was proposed. Mufti influence on decline. Secret. HQ Palestine. Telforce 651, extension 169. GSIM 1. February 13, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter Number 61. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours January 28, 23:59 hours February 11, 48. In the Semriya district there is an almost complete eclipse of the Husseini faction, occasioned by the arrival of the vanguard of the Palestine Liberation Army. This force, now some 3,000 strong, is distributed among the villages there, and spends its time reconnoitering the area, collecting intelligence and exercising strict military control over the local people. According to reports, in the near future all Palestinians will be required to register their firearms with the local Liberation Army leader, and will not be allowed to carry them without his permission. As a result of the strong control, public opinion has turned against the Husseini faction generally, and particularly against Abdul Qadir Husseini, who is openly ridiculed in coffee houses and referred to as Corporal Qadir. Public sentiment favors King Abdullah and Fawzi Khokji as political and military leaders, respectively. Slanderous stories of the Husseinis' past activities are circulated, while anecdotes and legends lauding the Hashemite dynasty are current topics of conversation. Secret. HQ Palestine. Telforce 651, extension 169. GSIM 1. February 13, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter Number 61. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours January 28, 23:59 hours February 11, 48. 10. In the last newsletter mention was made of the Arab League's decision to set up an Arab administration for Palestine, headed by a council consisting of the Mufti, Azam Pasha and Taha Pasha el-Hashimi. Owing to the Mufti's continued stubbornness there now appears to be considerable doubt among his followers as to whether he will be able to exercise his desired control of internal affairs through this council. In last month's meeting of the Arab League's Technical Committee, it was made clear to him that he would be able to maintain his leadership only by sincere collaboration with the League. In this hardened attitude, Shukri Kawadi is said to be the main influence, but nevertheless the Mufti's single-minded policy continues, as does his decline in popularity. British in Palestine recruit for Arab Legion. Subject: Volunteers, Arab Legion. Confidential. Headquarters REME. 1st Infantry Division. Tel. Sarafand Extension 68. Lists M and N. 40/me. February 26, 48. 1. Herewith copy of HQ 1 Infantry Division Signal 231,730B. Reference number AG 116. For your action as necessary. SGD. Captain and Adjut. For Lieutenant Colonel, Command REME 1st Infantry Division. Copy. From HQ 1 Infantry Division to REME 231,730B. Confidential. AG 116. 1. The following vacancies will exist for volunteers in REME for service with Arab Legion when reorganization is approved. Offers Major 1 Captain/Sub 1 CRPT GP 1 Captain/Sub 1 Captain/Sub AIA 1 or instructors to Arab personnel. Armament Arts, VES, Armament Arts, Field, Armament Arts. Instructors Eagle, Armaments Arts. Wireless, Armament Arts. Electrical. Following required to be suggested or recommended for promotion. Armorers Machinists Metal VE-Mechs Electrical, V and P. Instrument Mechs, Field. Instrument Mechs, TC. Telemechs, Field. All above to have minimum 12 months to serve. 2. Applications will not be withheld and will be forwarded to this HQ. 3. Selected personnel will be posted normally on their general service liabilities. Term and conditions of service not yet passed. It is possible families permitted to follow in due course. This message may be sent as written by any means, including wireless. Degree of priority. Immediate. British allow Egyptians to buy Palestine surplus army stocks. 6. Clear. British Consul Alexandria. 26/2/48 at 13:55 hours. 28/2/48 at 12:50 hours. 29/2/48 at 8:20 hours. Thomas Clark, a British subject resident in Egypt, holder of passport C246,790 issued at Alexandria June 25, 1946, wishes to proceed to Palestine for a month's visa. In company with Najib Antoun, Egyptian subject holder of Egyptian passport 28,537 issued Alexandria on April 7, 1946, in connection with proposed purchase of army surplus stores. They claim to be known to Major General Hewer. May visas be granted, please. Alexandria, February 26, 48. Major General Hewer. HQ. British troops MEF in Pal. British Consulate Alexandria cabled HC. Jerusalem Today asking for permission grant entry visas Palestine. Neguib Anton and Thomas Clark. Our collaborator quoting you as reference. Shall be glad if you will strongly recommend application. Enabling immediate arrival for opening new branch regards. Gregis Pasha. 6C1 Ear. British Consul. Alexandria. At 13:00 hours. January 3, 48. Number 535. Your telegram of February 26. Endorsement for Clark End visa for Antoun to enter Palestine for 1 month approved. Authority M/696/48/H. Mr. Pruin. March 2, 1948. Copies to Director of Immigration. Major General Hewer HQ Palestine. Bevin tells Lebanon U.S. prevented. Satisfactory solution. Translation from Arabic. London, December 29, 1947. Subject. Meeting with Mr. Bevin, British Foreign Secretary. To His Excellency the Foreign Minister of Lebanon. Political Department. I met Mr. Bevin in the Foreign Office on the 23rd of December, 1947. In the course of the conversation, we discussed the Palestine question. He told me that he was convinced that, but for American intervention, it would have been possible to reach a satisfactory solution. I believe that by that he was thinking of a decentralized federal constitution. Mr. Bevin said, now that the question has reached this stage, we are determined to withdraw from Palestine, so that Arabs and Jews should remain alone, to face each other and the hard facts. In the course of the conversation, we also discussed the Soviet intervention in the Palestine problem. He said that when Mr. Marshall, the American foreign minister, was in London, he, Mr. Bevin, had warned him of this danger more than once. He hoped that now the U.S. government would be alive to this danger. Official circles here believe that if America were to understand the extent of the Soviet danger, and were to change its position by avoiding any action, which would enable the Russians to exploit the position for the purpose of their own intervention in Palestine, the Arabs and Jews would remain alone face to face with the facts. The result would then be the attainment of a solution of the question on the basis of a federal state. I understand that Mr. Bevan is very interested in the Arab question, to which he devotes a large part of his time, as he does also to the question concerned with France. With cordial greetings, Victor Khoury. Musa Alami visits Abdullah to discuss Palestine occupation. Secret. HQ Palestine. Tel 4651, extension 169. GSIM 1. February 13, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter Number 61. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours January 28th, 23:59 hours February 11th 48. Part 1 Current Affairs. Part 2 House of Lords Debate January 20th. In last fortnight's newsletter, it was mentioned that Musa Alami, following his sojourn of almost a year abroad, has returned to the Middle East. Apart from the question of the Arab offices, there is reason to believe that Musa Alami's visit has certain political implications. It is rumored that in return for the shelving of the Greater Syria scheme, Syria and the Lebanon may be asked to consent to King Abdullah's occupying Palestine. Musa Alami's recent visit to the king may well have something to do with this. A reliable source has reported that, when Musa Alami arrived in Beirut, it was noticed that Sami Taha's assassin arrived there at the same time. Secret. HQ Palestine. Tel 4651, extension 169. GSIM 1. March 12, 48. Fortnightly Intelligence Newsletter Number 63. Issued by HQ British Troops in Palestine. For the period 23:59 hours February 25th, 23:59 hours March 10th 48. 8. Musa Alami, whose return to the Middle East caused grave concern among the ranks of the Mufti, revisited Amman on February 26th, and it is conceivable that this second visit had some connection with the increasing sympathy given to King Abdullah on the part of the Arabs of Palestine. Among Middle East experts, it is generally agreed that as long as the Mufti remains in power, there will be active hostility towards the Jews, whereas King Abdullah's attitude is believed to be much more tolerant and compromising, a view incidentally which is endorsed by the Jewish agency representatives in Lake Success. The resumption of the Anglo-Transjordan Treaty talks is expected to take place shortly. Page 25. 10. Stringent measures against the Jews. In contrast with the attitude of the British toward the Arabs and the Arab incursionists, is the stringent measures undertaken to prevent the Jews from getting arms. The following series of communications, exchanged in the early months of 1948, are illuminating. As this correspondence indicates, the British were attempting to prevent any possibility of the Jews receiving arms at a time when no obstacles were being placed in the way of armed Arab incursions and attacks on Jewish Palestine. To SP. Haifa. Your attention is invited to the Defense Emergency Regulations published in Palestine Gazette 164 Supplement No. 2, providing powers for the Port Authority to control ships in the territorial waters of Palestine. The purpose of these regulations is to deal with the possibility of arms smuggling to Tel Aviv port, where there are only Jewish customs staff. There is reason to believe that the importation of arms and explosives through Tel Aviv port will be attempted from U.S. and Yugoslav ports. It will therefore be desirable that ships from these ports should be required to discharge all cargo at Haifa only. If no approach has yet been made on the subject, I feel that you should see the General Manager Pell. RLY, and perhaps the port manager to consider what steps will be necessary to implement the new legislation. SGD Ford. **AIG SID. To SP Haifa, February 2nd, 48. I am writing about the implementation of the Defense Emergency Regulations H48 published in Palestine Gazette 164, providing powers for the Port Authority to control ships in the territorial waters of Palestine. This office letter of even number, dated January 19th, refers. O'Sullivan tells me that he saw you about this matter last Thursday. The position now, as I understand it, is that some ships, including American vessels, normally discharge at breakwater and stevedores are mixed Jews and Arabs. Customs normally examine any such cargo as is actually discharged. There does not appear to be much opportunity for the evasion of customs examination, though it is possible for a ship lying out, and a good many ships have to do this, to discharge illegal cargo by night onto small craft and so get it ashore. But it appears that some ships, for recent example the exporter, are allowed to proceed to Tel Aviv afterwards, after first being directed to Haifa, and so get an opportunity to discharge hot cargo. The exporter discharged a quantity of apples at Tel Aviv, after first having been directed to Haifa. Of course, there would have been ample opportunity to discharge illegal arms, etc., and so defeat the whole object of the new legislation. Surely a ship is not being allowed to go to Tel Aviv, once it has been found necessary to direct it from there, unless steps have been taken to ensure that nothing is left on board, which it is not desired should be landed, which I very much doubt. Would you please take up this aspect of the matter and let me know the outcome? SGD Ford AIG CID 2 IG Secret Number CS/758 February 18th, 48. I am directed to append the following extract from a letter received from the General Manager, Palestine Railways, regarding the enforcement of directions given by him as Port Authority under the Defense Emergency Regulations made on October 1st. I should be grateful to know whether I should be in order in invoking the assistance of the RN. If any vessel should fail to comply with any order given by me prohibiting the vessel from entering any port or the territorial waters of Palestine, the naval authorities have been consulted and have indicated that in their view, the primary responsibility for enforcing compliance rests with the police to whom the port author, Superintendent of Police, Acting Inspector General Criminal Investigation Department,